Welcome to Muskeg Tea with Chantel G, where we sip, share, and sit with stories that heal the heart and lift the spirit. November is National Men's Health Awareness Month, a time to open up conversations about what it means to be strong, vulnerable, and human. Today, I'm joined by someone whose story speaks to that balance, country rock artist Jarrid Lee Poitras. Jarrid's journey began in a home shaped by pain and struggle, but through hockey, hard work, and music, he's transformed that energy into art that uplifts and connects. His songs touch on addiction, mental health, and the lasting impacts of colonization, but also love, resilience, and hope. So grab your tea, take a breath, and join me as we sit down with Jarrid to talk about healing, purpose, and the power of turning pain into something beautiful. Let's get into the early life and foundations. Can you take us back to your early years? What was it like growing up? And how did that environment shape who you are today?
I grew up within a very, very musical family. Like all of my aunties, uncles, grandparents, everyone that I knew around me played any instrument and we all sang. So when I think about how I was raised, I grew up hearing the guitar in the morning, a fiddle at night, and that kitchen table of gatherings that we would have on the weekends or, every occasion like Christmas, Thanksgiving, whenever families would gather, that would be our time to sing songs. And even in church on Sundays, when we go to, I grew up Catholic, so being inspired by gospel, although there are some things that I don't agree with the church and the abuse and everything it put our people through, those negative ripple effects, they still have a lasting effect on who I am as a person. And how I was raised was just basically through music. And even if on my dad's side, it's a lot of country, a lot of gospel, a lot of fiddle. And on my mom's side, it's country music as well, and a lot of traditional like hand drumming. I grew up with the group Northern Cree, following them around powwows. My late brother-in-law was in Northern Cree as well, and that's been an inspiration on me. So my earlier years were spent going to beer fests, going to rodeo dances, bull-ramas, wedding dances, community events, anything and everything you think of that has to do with music. My dad had a band called County Express where I remember going to music festivals as young as 3 years old and not being able to go around. So many people were getting lost in the crowd where I grew up backstage, if you want to call it. So one of the first music festivals I think I went to was, I can't remember the exact one, but I remember my parents talking about Big Valley Jamboree. And that one was like, there was one in Camrose and there was also one in Saskatchewan. So when I was about 4 years old, there was that one. Summertime was spent, going to powwows. So listening to the hand drum, listening to the drum itself and memorizing certain lyrics and certain songs where I know what's coming because my ears were trained to think of, certain phrases. So that's how I grew up, and grew up in a home with both my parents until the age of about 13 when my parents divorced. And growing up in the 80s and the 90s, we never got to see our parents too much because we were outside playing. So when the street lights would come on, that's when that would be the key indicator of get inside. And I remember a commercial when I was younger being made about, do you know where your children are right now? Do you know what time it is? Maybe go find your children. Because our parents would literally forget about us. We'd spend all day playing outside and making mud pies or playing with our friends and riding our bikes, getting into trouble. That was how we grew up. Was we spent all of our time outside, and we got to rarely see our parents, but when we did, it was either first thing in the morning or if we got into trouble and then later on that night. So that gives you an idea of how I grew up. And we kind of raised ourselves, if you really think about it. And I have two older sisters that I want to give thanks to for spending all their time with me. And yeah, there's more to that story if you want to know more, but we'll leave it at that for now.
So you'd speak a little bit about growing up with an abusive father and a broken home. How did those experiences affect you, the way you viewed yourself and the world around you?
Those experiences growing up with an abusive father was, I had behavioral issues, if you want to call it. I had problems with authority. I didn't trust men. I remember getting into trouble one time, and we were playing hand hockey or something in my friend's basement, and I knocked over a vase. And his dad was a teacher at one of the schools around the area. And I remember hearing his footsteps coming down the stairs and me cringing right away, knowing that I'm gonna get hit. I'm gonna get, something's gonna happen. But what happened was I cringed when he came towards me and he goes, "Hey buddy, are you okay?" And he put his hand on my shoulder and I looked, I said, "You're not gonna hit me?" He goes, "No, we don't hit in this family." I was like, "Why?" That was my question. Like as a 7-year-old kid, 8-year-old kid, I asked why. And I didn't realize that not everyone had a home or like a father like me, where as soon as you break something, you get hit. Or as soon as you talk back, you get hit. I remember one time knocking over an ashtray when I was about 3 years old and getting a strap with a belt, and having welts on the back of on my back. I could tell you a bunch of stories, but I mean, my dad's grown from then. I've learned to forgive him. It shaped me into a person that when I was an adolescent, I was in big trouble all the time. My cry out for helps weren't heard by people. Like when I'd ask for help, it wasn't there. It literally wasn't there. Like to have a therapist or somebody talk, people like, "Oh, he's just a bad kid. Oh, he's just got bad behavior." And my energy, my out was basically hockey. So at the age of 2 or 3, I started skating and playing hockey, and that's where all my energy went. So if I got a licking, I'd go and take it out on the ice. But I didn't realize breaking a stick would cost me more trouble in the end, or if I didn't play good enough. So it made me look at myself as if I wasn't good enough, as if I need to be the best I can be. Because if I had a perfect game, I wouldn't get hit. If I scored 3-4 goals and got 2 or 3 assists, I wouldn't get hit. But I was also the type of player where the team relies on the best ones and they look at you under a spotlight. So if you make one mistake, it's the end of the world. It's literally people watch you, they don't watch the game. They want to make sure that you play your best game so that the team wins. And another thing too is like being the only Native kid on the hockey team. Man, that was tough. And growing up in St. Paul, I'll be right brutally honest with you. It was one of the most racist towns I grew up in, and I've been all over the world and I haven't seen or heard of racism like that. Not unless you go way down south to the States, like southern, like way down south. And there it's mostly racist towards Black people. So I grew up being the only Native kid on the hockey team, having to prove myself to my teammates that I'm worthy, that I'm good enough, having to prove to the parents that I'm good enough. Not only that, but when you go in another town, you got to fight against the other team and their parents. So that shaped me into the resilient person I am. And to give you one example was I grew up with a bully, and this kid was mean to me growing up. He was on the same hockey team as me. And I reached out to him recently because he just became a new counselor in St. Paul. So he sits on council, and not going to say his name, but I reached out to the guy and said, "Hey man, congratulations." And man, he sent me a compliment back where he's like, "Man, you're doing phenomenal in your life and music. I'm proud of you. Sorry, he was ever mean to me," stuff like that. And he said, "Man, you were the most resilient player I've ever seen. You had to deal with not only the racism from our own teammates, but the parents, other teams, other towns." So he goes, "Man, you had it tough." I'm like, "Yeah." And he sees that now, like 30 some years later, so having to grow up within a hostile environment, I had to seek first to understand, then be understood as to why I was in that situation to begin with. And if you look at our grandparents on my mom's side, very humble, very traditional. We always did ceremony on my mom's side, very traditional, right? And on my dad's side, Catholic. My grandpa was a war veteran. We didn't know what PTSD was growing up. And my dad told me some stories about how he grew up. So although getting abused by my own dad, uh, they called it discipline back then. Although that was a thing, we didn't know what PTSD was. We didn't know that grandpa had something in his mind that kind of broke him when he was in this war. And then coming home, he's a entirely different person. And having to raise all these kids in a very hostile and abusive environment, all of my aunties and uncles on my dad's side are like that. And some are more nicer than others and more kind, more loving. But it shaped me into who I am by having to realize I'm not the best person. I'm not somebody people should look up to. I'm really, excuse my language, I'm really freaking hard on myself. I'm so hard on myself. And my wife sees it, other people see it. So when it comes to life and music, there isn't anything anybody can ever tell me that's going to really hurt my feelings, because I've already told that to myself. I've already told myself I'm not good enough a million times. I've already told myself I suck. I'm horrible. I need to write better songs. I need to do better as a person because I'm always under the spotlight. So that success comes with an internal game, an internal mental game that I play with myself, where I need to be better than who I was yesterday. And it's hard to keep it up. It's hard to be under the spotlight when people want you to be perfect or they want you to be a role model. And I've been sober now for over, my oldest is 16. about 13 years, no drugs. The last time I had anything to drink was before our wedding about 8 years ago. So it's been, I couldn't imagine myself being in addictions again because a very ugly person comes out. So anytime I see people, they might have seen me when I was under the influence, or they might have had an interaction with me. So I'm quick to apologize to people right away if they may interact with me on a basis where I'm not myself, where I'm under the influence, because that's drunk Jarrid, not sober me. And now it's like I see where where the relationships are with people, and I apologize if I'm not up to snuff for some people and up to their standards, but I'm only human, and I'm only trying to live my life honestly, just day to day. Because sometimes you'll get hit with something, like when I watched that Bruce Springsteen movie that just came out. I was in tears because hearing his drunk father come up the stairs, and I'm lucky that my dad didn't drink, but when you hear those footsteps coming down the hall, you know what's going to happen. You know it's going to be a slap or an abuse or a kick or a strap or a hit or a punch. So that abuse that I faced when I watched that Bruce Springsteen movie, I was like, oh man, I just cringed and I couldn't watch. I just closed my eyes because I knew it was going to happen. So when I'm around certain people, or if anybody hits me in the back, I don't like getting hit. I don't like getting touched. I don't like anybody behind me, because that's a lot of where my abuse stems from. And I have triggers like that, and I recognize them. So it's a good thing that I do recognize them, so that way I can get rid of them and move on with life. But I know what my limits are, and I also I treat people how they treat me. So if people treat me nice, I treat them nice. If people treat me like an ass, then you're gonna get that part of me. So that's where I know my limits. That's where I stand up for myself. If people are going past, and being in the spotlight as a musician, people try to test your patience all the time. All the time. I could send you all the messages I get or all the comments, and little do people know that when they tell me I'm not good enough, or my music sucks, or that I'm a horrible person, or whatever they have against me, all the success and all the things I'm doing is actually for them too. Like, I'm trying to get our people back on the map. And I realized that how I grew up and how I was shaped was that I'm just looking for validation. I'm just looking for people to say, man, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. Because I never heard that growing up. I heard it from other parents. I never heard it from mine. So that's the thing, is like, I want to make my people proud. I want to make my parents proud, my family proud. And it's hard, because our own people too are going through something. Everyone's going through something, whether it's grief and loss, whether it's abuse they went through as a kid, the mental, the emotional, the physical, the spiritual, the sexual abuse, all that. Not one of our people have never gotten abused. Every single one of our people have gotten abused. You know what I mean? Whether it's verbally, even by non-native people. I see it every day. So I think we carry a lot. And when we're dealing with one another, we need to be mindful of, we don't know what the other person is going through on any given day, right? So that's me in a nutshell. And my out was hockey, and still is. I still play hockey to this day. It's good for the mind. It's good for the spirit. It's good for joking around with the boys once in a while. And music too. It's getting to that point where I'm not enjoying it quite as much anymore, because it does come with a lot. Like, the bigger the shows, the more stress that comes along with it. And the more I go up in the music industry, the more haters, for some odd reason, are coming out of the woodworks. Like, I've never seen these people before in my life, yet they want to try and say something about me and my music. But nobody got to see the sacrifice that went into where I'm at. Like, the weekends where I'm home at 3 or 4 in the morning, you have to get up for work at 8 o'clock the next day, sacrificing time with friends and family, missing birthdays, having to travel, all that goes into success. And it's a price. It's a very, very heavy price I have to pay to be successful in the music industry. So there you go. Hopefully that answers your question.
I definitely can relate to a lot of what you just shared. Being raised by my cookum, she was second generation residential school survivor. And so she was very strict. She was very mean. And so same thing, any little thing that I did, it would be a hit. And so I really can relate with everything that you just said. And I do agree, like, we carry a lot. We carry a lot. And I've heard from elders that, it's going to take, the next 7 generations to fix that. So, our journeys are ongoing. And, thank you for sharing that little bit there. You did talk a little bit about hockey. And so hockey seems to have been an outlet for you. What did the game give you that maybe life at home couldn't?
Ooh, That's a great question. I could tell you so much about what the game has done for me. Physically, you're in shape. You have to eat properly. Physically, you get to release your stress and get rid of whatever's bothering you, whatever's picking at your ass. You get to get on the ice and skate it away, or, take a hard slap shot, or when it got time to hitting somebody, you would cream somebody. So it's the physical part of the game that does something for you. The emotional part is like, man, you get fired up. Like if you score a goal, it's awesome. Like if you're helping your team win, it's an emotional game. It's a mental game. It's like 90% mental and like 10% physical when you think about it. One of the greatest teachings I ever got was from a coach of mine. His name is Al Bremer. We went 2 years in a row undefeated the whole year, including playoffs, including provincials. So for 2 years, we never lost the game. Why? Because he got us into a mindset of imagine what you can accomplish if you knew you couldn't fail. Imagine what you knew you can accomplish if you knew that every game you were going to win. And every game we would find a way to win. So he gave me this book, and he taught me that when I was about 14 years old, I was still the smallest kid on the hockey team. I was only 5'3", 145 pounds roughly. So I was small going into the Bantam draft. I never got drafted or anything, but that year he got me to read this book, and it was called Zen and the Martial Arts. And I can't remember who the author was, but the author used to work closely with Bruce Lee. So Bruce Lee talks about your internal, your chi or your ki, your energy. And the example he used in the book was, I'll tell you the reason why my coach gave me, this book is because I was always getting knocked off the puck. People were hitting me. They were knocking me off, and I was really easy to, to get hit and fall down, or to get hit and move off the puck. And he goes, man, you're weak. You're freaking weak. I'm going to give you this book, and it's going to do something to your mind. It's going to ground you, but you got to read it. You got to read this book. So I read the whole book, and I finally understood what he's talking about. And in the books and in the martial arts, it talks about your energy, your ki, your chi. And in Cree, when we talk about our life force, our belly button is what you call it, nitsi. Like what's your name? They say nitsi gasun, right? Where's your life force? What's your name? What's your given? So that's our energy as well. So in our culture, we also have energy. To give an example was like, did you ever see a baby that wants to get carried? If they're on the ground and they're crying and they want to get lifted, they want to get carried, and you pick up that baby, they're light. They're really light. They're so light. Coddle them, and you cuddle them a little bit, and they're okay. Now, you ever see a baby that doesn't want to get carried? How heavy they are? Why is that? Same weight, same energy, but they're using their energy to push themselves down. To, like when you pick up somebody that doesn't want to get carried, they're heavy. They add on weight like hundreds of pounds that we don't know where it comes from. That's energy. So when we tell our people, ground yourself, it's because we know what's coming. We know when there's a storm coming. We know when we're going to get hit. We know when to smudge. We know when to pray, because this isn't our first time here. Our people have been here for thousands of years. We've had this figured out. Same thing with our brothers and sisters of all different backgrounds. So although this is a Chinese teaching, we also have this teaching within us to ground ourselves. So after that, after reading his book, man, could knock me off the puck if he tried. Couldn't get me out. That was my puck. So that the determination, the fact you have to ground yourself, the fact you're solid now. And I grew that summer. I grew when I was 15 to 5'10". I grew 7 inches over the course of a summer. My feet were bigger. I mean, I gained weight. I went up to about 180 pounds, and I was solid. For sure, you couldn't knock me off the puck. So hockey, what it's done for me is, mentally get me into a space where every shift is different, just like how every day is different. So you have to find a way to get to your goals, and you're always setting goals, whether it's just to get up in the morning and be grateful, because not everyone gets to play the game, whether it's being grateful that you're still able to play the game after 40 years old, because not a lot of people make it to this age. Not a lot of people physically can even play the game anymore. And I always tell people, we don't grow old because we stop playing the game. We grew old because, we stopped playing. I believe that. Like I look up to a lot of different people in music and in hockey, and all the older folks that are still around, they still continue to play. They let that inner child, and the spiritual part of what the game does to you, I don't know. It just gives you hope. Like when you're setting goals, or you're lacing up your laces, and that pregame routine that people have, it does something to you. And to this day, I still can't figure out that part of what hockey does to the spirit, but it lifts you up. It gets you into a place where anything's possible. The creative part of your mind how do you score a goal that's going to be creative? There's one thing to pass the puck and get it into the net. Yeah, cool. But how do you create something from nothing? And I was a very creative player, very creative, where if there was no way that we were going to beat a team, we would have to find a way. So you have to be creative, very creative. And I like being able to play with the puck and getting people to come to me and focus on me and seeing an open guy. You know, I'd have 3 times as many assists as I have goals because I'm not greedy. I like sharing the puck. I like seeing other people succeed just as much as I do. So the game, it gave me lots, even friendships, some of the best friendships, if not all of them. Anytime I have a business opportunity or a job opportunity or something, it comes from the dressing room. All of my friends that I've made throughout my life have been through hockey, music, business, school, something. But the best friends I have in my life have become lifelong friends because of the game. And realistically, we come together to do something together, to accomplish something together. And I think that's what's missing in our lives is that we got disconnected back when this whole COVID thing happened because a lot of people, they're introverted now. Not a lot of people want to go out anymore. And even though I try call people just to check up on them, they don't want to answer my calls because I think people are getting scared of answering phone calls being, oh, we lost another family member or, you know, they want to borrow money or something like that. Whereas me, I just want somebody to talk to. I just want somebody to keep in touch with and see how they're doing because we went through a pretty dark time and now I think there's the mental health aspect of people's lives is getting impacted. And especially with men's mental health, I can't tell you how many friends I've lost to suicide or to addictions. Start to be happy when you're going through grief and loss. So back to what I was saying is that the game, it gives you everything if you allow it, but it can also take everything from you if you allow it as well. I still continue to play to this day. And yeah, it gives you a lot. I mean, it gives you sacrificing yourself for the greater good. That's what the game does. It gives a lot. And it asks a lot of you mentally as well, spiritually, physically, emotionally. So that's the game.
Finding purpose and voice. You've worn many hats: athlete, business owner, musician. What role did each of those paths play in helping you find healing or direction?
Sure. Finding purpose as an athlete was not everyone is going to make it to the NHL. You can make it as far as you can based on your abilities, on any, all things being equal, I would have made it a lot further. Back in my day, if you weren't over 6 feet tall, you basically weren't making a team. And if you were also native, I've had coaches and scouts tell me that there's going to be 3 reasons why I leave any team is because if I get homesick or if I start drinking or if I get a girlfriend. Those are the 3 things that would happen with what they thought native kids would go through on any given team. So the experiences I've had with being an athlete where, you have to set goals, you have to keep your physical body in check, you have to keep your emotions in check. Being a business owner, I've read a lot of books and I got taught how to be a business owner through a couple of mentors. And one of them was my buddy Mackenzie's mom. And there's a book out there called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I have a similar story, I guess, like Robert Kiyosaki, where I have a rich mom and a poor mom. Like my rich mom tells me, start a business, take the risk, high reward, invest, use the cash quadrant, be smart, do good things with your money. And then my poor mom's like, go to school, get a good job, work your whole life, retire. I don't agree with that. I've been an entrepreneur since I was a kid, and the mentors I had were like, people I look up to in business would be like Bob Proctor, Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, T. Harv Eker, The Millionaire Mindset, Tony Robbins, Mark Victor Hansen, Jack Canfield, and all these people I got to meet through going to their conferences. So I started my first business when I was 18. I was working with a company called Excel, and there was a book written about that company called The Excel Phenomenon. It's the story about the fastest growing telecommunications company in the world and what it means to you. So there was a company back in the 80s that started telecommunications like TELUS, right? Or Fido or Rogers. And what they did was they grew really fast in the 90s because they used it as a home-based business model and not so much like a pyramid, but like an equal opportunity business where if I had the qualifications to get to the next level past the person who got me involved, I would just pass them. So when I was with this company, we got trained by some of the best entrepreneurs in the world. And I remember going to a Fantasyland hotel and having a a 2-day conference there. And on one of the days we had a special guest speaker, and it was Bob Proctor. And I don't know if you've watched that movie The Secret or not, but I got to meet Bob and talk about a mindset that is so strong that there isn't anything you can't tell Bob that is going to shake or rattle or anything, because we all have our own minds, whether you think you can, whether you think you can't, you're right. But the coolest thing I got to see was Bob play with a yo-yo. And this was part of setting goals. It was part of being able to close your eyes and envision what your life wants to be like, and using The Secret and all that kind of stuff, manifesting. So when Bob was up on stage, he was playing with this yo-yo, and he goes, I wanted to be a yo-yo master when I was younger. And people are listening to him, and he goes, yeah, I'd sit up in my room and I'd visualize being a yo-yo champion. And, back in the 70s, people used to be able to walk the dog and go around the world. And he showed us all these tricks, and he's awesome yo-yo. Like, he was a yo-yo champion. Little did I know he's a professional yo-yo. That's the thing. They used to have tournaments back in the day where you'd win, a bike, or you'd win money, and, being able to put himself in that mindset. So seeing somebody like Bob Proctor, one of the people I got to hear and listen to, and then seeing that person in real life was like amazing. And I still look up to Bob by just having the mindset and that voice and setting goals. And so as a business owner, I was making good money at the age of 19. So good, in fact, that my mom couldn't believe I had a $5,500 check. And she goes, is this for a month? I said, no. It's for 2 weeks. No. Is it for 3 weeks? No. I said, oh, it has to be a 2-month check. Then I'm like, no, it's for 1 week. She goes, you're 19. How do you make $5,500 in 1 week? I'm like, you do. You train a lot of people. You go through numbers of people. And I remember my friend Mackenzie's mom telling me it's like a deck of cards, and you're looking for 4 aces. So you keep flipping through people and asking them if this, opportunities for them, and you'll finally get some yeses. And that's what I'm looking for. That's what I was looking for, is people to say yes to me in the business. And although being young, people didn't really take me seriously. They didn't, because they're like, how can you be a senior director or regional director at the age of 19? And I just tell them, like, age has nothing to do with this. It's all about your mindset. It's all about being able to push. And every person that I would ever talk to at the age of 18, 19, they would either become a customer of mine or a business partner. So that's the mindset of just being determined and being able to talk to people and networking. And then from there, I started a promotional company where I was selling clothing inside the nightclubs on the weekends. And I'm going to places like Versace and asking them, hey, listen, I need a suit for this weekend. Can I wear one of your suits to show people, there's nice clothing inside West Edmonton Mall, promote for you guys. So when I was in West Edmonton Mall on the weekends, I go to all the different businesses and ask them if I could promote for them and what my business was. And in a nightclub, if somebody liked my jacket, I would sell it for like $400 right there. Then I'd give the money back to Versace and say, hey, listen, that jacket's sold. I need another one. Like, how do you do this? So it became a nightclub promotional thing. And not only that, but like tickets. Got to sell tickets to people like Cardinal Offishall or Shaw Claire. I remember Sean Kingston coming through, selling tickets for Masari and even Rihanna. Like, we had this competition at Cowboys. Whoever sold the most tickets got to meet Rihanna. So I sold like 87 tickets amongst all my friends. So at about 19, 20, I got to meet Rihanna. And this is before she blew up. This is when her Kisses of the Sun album came out. And people were kind of like still getting to know her music and that Southern Bahamas style feel of music. Like Kisses of the Sun, that was a great album. And who knew that she was going to blow up like to the superstar she is? And when I talked to her, normal everyday person, just like me or you, she had a little bit of an accent, which was cool. And plus I had a little crush on her. So it made that little interaction it was short. It was like, Jarrid sold the most tickets. You got to meet Rihanna. Cool. Okay. See you later. And that was it. I'm like, hi. Yep. Okay. Bye. And short and sweet, but you get to interact with certain people when you put yourself in certain situations that you may not be comfortable with. So with business, you can't be comfortable. The moment you become comfortable is when you become complacent. And the moment you become complacent is when you start losing your business. You always have to do things a little bit differently each day, every day. So I had a restaurant too when I was working on the rigs, and I had it with a Korean business partner of mine. So he was a great chef. I mean, good cook, good business guy, really smart. But where we failed was we had a system going where we'd have to serve about 200 to about 500 people over the course of a lunch hour. That's hard. That's really hard to do in the span of an hour. So we made a cafeteria style where people would come in, they grab their soup, grab their sandwich, pay for their food, and they go. We'd have one daily special for lunch, and that was it. But he hired his brother-in-law who couldn't speak a word of English. So that made that very hard for us to kind of communicate back and forth. And also a lot of jealousy of, when you start a business on the res, man, people will either love it or they're going to hate it. They're going to find a way to try and break you down. And that's what happened. Was politics got involved. People put a cockroach in our food. They said there was cockroaches in the building, which wasn't true. So we had a health inspector come out, and my friend Carmen was a health inspector at the time. And she came out and she goes, Jarrid, you're like an A-. A couple of things that need to get fixed. Your business is good. There's no cockroaches. There's a little bit of dust over the grill. Your latch on the freezer needs to get fixed, and there's a garbage next to where the food is. You'll need to put that towards the back. Other than that, you guys just keep doing your thing, wash your hands, keep a clean restaurant. So the administrator at the time got rid of our business. And then from there, somebody else got to run that business because they didn't like seeing us in there. And they didn't know I owned 51%, because I would show up once in a while and do the books and then do inventory, get restocked, and then go back to work, because I worked on the rigs at the same time as having this restaurant. So when that restaurant stopped, me and my Korean business partner decided to started a gas station that my late uncle, before my uncle passed away, that my uncle owned. And we bought it off him, providing that we would give him a certain percentage of whatever, right? So same thing, owned 51% of that. We needed more capital. We needed more investors. So we got 2 other Korean business partners of ours to start the store, and we called it Four Bros. And same thing, I had to keep out of the spotlight, because our people, they'll come after you. And I don't know why. People call it the crabs in the bucket, but I honestly think that, if I can do something, if I can do anything, so can you. Like, there's nothing stopping you from doing that, right? So when I think about life and goals and being a business owner, is that, why are people mad that I'm doing something? When if they see something that they want to do, they should do it too. And I always hear this saying back home, it's like, they should, you should, they should. Nobody ever says I should. You're empowered just as much as anybody else. But there's also a lot of jealousy back home. So I kept out of the spotlight as the 4th brother. And people are like, how did these Koreans get here? How did these Koreans get here? I'm like, I'm just sit back like, sorry guys, I brought them here. You know why? Because they could turn a penny into a dime, and they could turn a dime into $1, and they could turn $1 into a bill, so on and so forth. But they know what, they were really good with money, really great with money. So I didn't have to worry too much about that business. Just had to worry about inventory, had to worry about, the books, and making sure that our customers were okay and our business partners were okay, and profit sharing and all that. And then they bought me out, and me and my uncle started a gravel hauling business. And this is where my story kind of turns a little bit. The one male father figure I had in my life was my Uncle Casey, and he passed away at that time. And we had a business hauling gravel, and our business just liquidated. So then what do I do? And that's going to happen in everybody's life. And you know what I call that? I call that now what? When you're stuck, or you think you're stuck and you don't know what to do, your next move, I always say, okay, now what? And that's life's way of fucking knocking you down. And it's not as if you're going to stay down, but it matters what you do after. Because if I would have stayed down, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. So I call that now what? I was like, man, now what? Okay, now I'm going to go back to school for business. Now I'm going to go back to school for law. Now I want to do what I want to do. I want to do what Jarrid wants to do, because growing up, a lot of people would tell me what to do, and I would do it. Go to school, get a job, start a business, work on the rigs, make big money, help the family. But not once did anybody ever ask me what I wanted to do with my life until I met my wife. And she goes, what do you want to do with your life? You're driving truck, you're in camp, you're making money, but what do you want to do? And I was like, man, I want to go to school. I want to go back to school for business. I want to be a lawyer. I want to be a musician. I want to make music. That's what I want to do. I want to make music for people, and I want to write songs that people can relate to. So from there, like 15, 16 years ago, I started writing music. And it wasn't until I moved to Saskatchewan that I kind of caught my big break. But in this industry, you don't really catch a break. It's just when preparation meets an opportunity, that's when you catch a break. So I was playing at this open mic one time, and I walked into this little bar, and it was called Stands, and I was playing New Country, and believe it or not, the host was Errol Canistino from that movie North of 60. You remember that guy? He was Leon from North of 60. And he goes, we don't play that New Country stuff here. You take it down to Piggy's, take it down the road, and you play your New Country over there, you'll fit in. So I was like, okay, just got kicked out of a bar by a celebrity. Anyway, funny story. Me and Errol are still friends to this day, but he actually pointed me in the right direction. So I went down the road. I went to Piggy's. And it turns out that there was a guy there sitting there, and he goes, "Hey, man, you should join the Saskatchewan Country Music Association." So I did. I joined that night, and I felt at home because new country music that I write, it fit within that group of people. And a couple weeks went by, and I was doing my first open mic. I was so nervous. I was giving out some original songs and playing some covers, and there was this guy sitting there looking at me out of the corner of his eye, and every song he'd be nodding his head along. He'd keep looking at me, and he's like, yeah, he's singing along. And I was like, man, who is this guy? This is the exciting part about life. You never know who you're going to meet. You never know who's going to be listening. You never know whose hand you're going to shake. But it turns out that this guy introduced himself, and, going back to The Secret, Bob Proctor, and, just meeting this guy was kind of like the freaking Twilight Zone. I got to meet Johnny Sinclair, the bass player for that band called The Pursuit of Happiness. Multi-million albums sold. They're platinum. They're one of the best groups that I've heard growing up. They had that song called "I'm an Adult Now." I'm an adult. That song. So I was like, I know your music. I know who you are. He goes, you got something. Can I mentor you? So sure enough, Johnny's been my mentor in this music industry since I got started. I'd say about 10 years ago now. And having people like that in your corner that believe in you has made a world of a difference. Having good music and good songwriting also helps. And having him point me in the right direction, and then joining Sask Music, and I won a Songwriters Award for the best song, and it was called Small Town, which I got to open up for. Sammy Kershaw, Aaron Tippin, Colin Ray at, they call it not Big Valley Jamboree, but Country Thunder now. And then after them was Jess Mosk and Luke Midland. And then backstage, I was hanging out with Williams and Ree, God rest Terry's soul, the Indian and the White Guy, that comedy act back in the day. They went all over the world, and I grew up with those guys as well because they've been coming to my uncle's conference for the last 30 years. The opening act I was the opening act that afternoon for Luke Bryan. So I told my dad, I said, Dad, I got a Songwriters Award. Hey man, I just, finished playing Country Thunder and Craven, Saskatchewan. He goes, cool. I was there too, Nitty Gritty Dirt Band opened up for us back in 1988, and it was true. Like, they were there in 1988 before they blew up. He goes, now what? So what? I was like, so what? Like, trying to get him to say I'm proud of you. Didn't happen. He goes, keep going. So I was like, man, that's like one of the biggest freaking stages I've ever played in my life. All he says is, so what? Keep going. I'm like, okay. So time goes on. Business-wise, I went back to school. I recorded my first album while I was a broke college student with no money. I would play at stands on the weekends for, $300. I would live off, a tip jar. And this was the first time in my life I had to really, really swallow my pride, because my second year in business school, I was recording. I was trying to get my first album out. I was trying to navigate the waters of being broke for the first time in my life. And I swallowed my pride the first time walking into a freaking food bank. I've never done that. I've always had enough. And I cried. I cried because I felt I shouldn't be there. I felt like I have 2 feet in a heartbeat. I'm more than capable of providing, but I couldn't. I was living off $600 a month, and that was including my rent. So it was hard. I had to just swallow my pride and say, okay, I'm a broke student. It's okay. It's okay to be hungry. It's okay to not be okay. So that's all I did was ask for help, and I asked my school, I said, look, guys, I'm hungry. I think I want to quit. Like, no, you can't quit. So luckily our school came up with this retention program where they had a couple $1 million to put towards investing in our students. So the students that really needed help, we got our bills paid for, we got our rent paid for, and that helped get me through my second year to graduate. And mind you, I was the second vice president for the Saskatchewan Country Music Association. I had to run open mics every Wednesday. I was the president for the student association. I had to play music on the weekends. All of this added up to having the toughest second year while still trying to maintain an 80% average in school. Man, it was tough. It was so tough, but yet it's doable. I honestly look back at my life and realize that was probably the toughest time I had, but that's what broke me. That's what honestly broke me to the point where I cried in a talking circle because I told everyone I'm not okay. I was hurt. I was away from home. I had limited resources. I felt like I was alone. Thank God for my wife for helping keep the lights on and food on the table. She can't cook very well, but I do all the cooking. She does all the cleaning. So that's our thing, is I could chef up a meal. If you give me Food bank food, I can make a meal. Dollar store food and food bank, I'll make you a meal. So at the end of that second year, I finally finished my album. It was a 5-song EP, and I gave it up to my instructor, and I said, Kate, here's my final. Here's my final product. Here's my project. This is my final. This is what I want to do with my life. I want to start a business in music. And I gave that to him, and he listened to it. And the next day he goes, Jarrid, I'm going to give you 100% on your final. I was like, yes. So I ended up submitting my music all over. I put it on the radio. I give it satellite radio. It turns out that that when I released my song and my album, I sold 555 copies my first month, and that paid for the whole thing. That winter was probably the saddest winter I've ever, because it wasn't working yet. I just got out of school. I was trying to figure out this whole music thing and how to promote myself, how to get myself shows and gigs. And that was the first Christmas I wasn't able to provide a single present for anybody. And it was, talk about swallowing your pride again. I was beyond broke at this point. $1,000 in debt, $16,000 for child support, $32,000 for a student loan. I was having the most grim, the worst Christmas I can ever have. And I was sitting at my mother-in-law's house talking to my wife. I'm like, I can't buy you a present this year. I can't even buy you a pair of socks. Like I have nothing. I'm broke. I don't know what to do anymore. I give up. I need a job. I may as well just go get a job. I may as well go back to camp. And she goes, no, keep on with your music. It's okay. Everything's going to turn out. Don't worry about it. And I checked my email, and stupid me, I never knew what royalties were until I got my royalty check. So I was checking my email from Sound Exchange. They're like, yeah, your song went to #1 on Sirius XM. You had X amount of spins in the last 6 months, blah, blah, blah. Log in to check, right? So I logged into this website and I checked. And I was like, holy shit. There's $26,748 US sitting in my account. And that's US. When you convert that to Canadian, that's like 36,000. And I was like, having the worst Christmas ever to being the most grateful I've ever been in my life. And that was my turning point. That was the point I realized I need to do this. I need to, not because of the money, but not to be so hard on myself, and just to realize, man, it's just a bad day. It's not a bad life. And that Christmas, it humbled me. Couldn't buy my kids nothing. Couldn't buy my wife nothing. I couldn't even buy a coffee if my life depended on it. Little did I know I had money in the bank from royalties. So every 3 months, I get a nice check in the mail, and I'm grateful that people still listen to my music and they still ask me when my next show is. So from there, all this experience I've been through, all the abuse, all the tough times, all the hockey, losing everybody, being a successful entrepreneur in business, and also failing a lot. Like, you have to fail more times than you succeed in this life to become successful, to learning about the music industry. If I didn't have faith in my life or the creator, I don't think I would be here today. And I'm sad that a lot of my friends and family that I've lost to drugs and alcohol, the mental game, they're no longer here. So that's who I get guided by, is the ones that have passed on. And sometimes there's a good heartfelt story in losing somebody. That's why if you listen to some of my songs like The Addict or One Less Face, there's a good story in there. And they're tough songs to listen to, but that's what makes good music, is that it's able to reach you and touch you on a level that I don't know where my music comes from. People always ask me, where does it come from? Experience, life, going through hell and back, that's where it comes from. And then coming out on top, having to try come out on top. I always give this as an example, is like, I'd like to see the people that are really hard on me, I'd like to see them try this road that I'm on, because it's not an easy road. And a lot of people quit. A lot of people give up, and it molds you into the artist that you're supposed to be. And I'm always trying to be the most genuine person I can be with my music, with who I am on and off the stage. And I feel a lot of people's energy. I'm here to help. I'm here to heal. I'm not here to hurt anyone. I'm not here to take anything from anybody. I'm just here to be the best possible version of myself I can be. And with people's permission, with their love and support, I'd like to be able to play the Grand Ole Opry one day, to be able to go on world tour, to have a household name, because I'm doing this for you guys too. I'm not doing this for me. This was never about me. Never. Always about everyone else. Because remember, I passed the puck 3 times as much as I score. So it doesn't bother me. It doesn't affect me. I'm not motivated by money. I'm not motivated by fame. I'm motivated by a pat on the back, because I never had that growing up. I never had people tell me that they're proud of me. for making it. I never had that. So all the money in the world doesn't matter if my people aren't proud of me. And that's truly what I'm after. That's truly what I want. It's just having, nominations or having an award. Because I think that once I succeed, then we all succeed. I truly believe that. And I get emotional because it's not easy to do this. And I think of that Robert Frost poem of The Road Less Traveled. And I think that poem, I heard it as a kid, and it's stuck to me to this day, where you come to a fork in the road, and on the right, it's all paved. It's nice and easy going. Sure, you could take that route, or you could take the road less traveled, and that'll get you through your destination. Sure, it may take a little bit longer. Sure, it may be rough. Sure, it's rougher to go this way, but that's what's made all the difference. So when people ask me questions like, how did you do it, or how did you get there? I don't know. I just know that this road I'm on, it's hard. It's not easy on you emotionally. It's not easy on you spiritually. Physically, it's demanding. Like you have late nights, you travel all the time. Like for me, the longest trip we ever took was down to Nashville, and that was a 2.5-day trip. And we drove all the way there, and it was hard. And I had to play. No matter how tired you get, show must go on. Monkey has to dance. The jester has to entertain the people. Even during loss, like when you lose somebody, you get home off of a 2 or 3 week tour. A couple of years ago, I lost my auntie, lost my brother John. I lost a lot of people, and people still want you to smile. That's hard. It's hard to fake a smile when you're hurting inside, especially from losing friends or family and people that love your music and support you. That's the hardest thing, man. So there's been some times where some shows I don't want to play. I'm like, I don't want to play right now. And it's okay to say no. It's okay to take time to yourself. And that's the thing I want to talk to you about is like, there's such a stipulation around men's health where we have to be strong. We can't cry. That's bullshit. That's total BS. I think I guide myself based on my feelings and based on if something doesn't feel right, I don't do it. And if I'm feeling good about something, then that's the direction I'm supposed to be going. So a lot of the friends that I've lost, a lot of the family it's been tough. Men, if you're out there having a tough day, talk to somebody, call somebody. It's okay to cry. It's okay to go through those feelings. That's why Creator gave us these feelings, is to guide us to where we're supposed to be. November is hard for me because, I like to give back to men's cancer awareness. So growing the mustache in November. And, I lost a friend growing up to cancer, lost a lot of friends and family. So the grief and loss part of my life has been, I have a tough time losing people. I do. I don't deal well with it. I don't know anybody who deals well with it. So it's not as if you're going to not see that person again. It's just that all the memories that you had of that person are going to stay with you until it's your time to go. And it's going to be your time to see that person when it's time. And that's all we have as human beings is time. And once it's spent, it's done. That's the only commodity you'll never get back. So spend it wisely, guys. And I'm telling you, if you're going through a hard time, boys, men, talk. Give me a message. I get a lot of messages of people going through a rough time. And I give my best to give them the best answers I can. And sometimes I don't have the answers. Sometimes I'm just an ear to listen to. But if that's all you need, sometimes just send out a message. Talk to people. Talk to anybody. Talk to a stranger. You'll find out that you have more in common with people than you do if you were staying at home doing nothing. And I think that with the pandemic that we disconnected, everyone got disconnected. And now that we're going through life again, we need to reconnect and talk more and do things like podcasts and have coffee with a stranger, have coffee with somebody, meet somebody new, get to be yourself again, get to talk to people, and you'll find out that you're going to have tons of things in common with your average man, is what I call it. And I thank everyone for supporting me on my journey. And if you like music, go check it out. There's a song for everybody. I don't know where these songs come from, but whether they come from up there or my own experience or something I've heard or seen, there's a song there for you. There is. And it's going to help you. It's going to help you on your journey. It's going to help you heal. It's going to help you become human again and to go through whatever it is you're going through. Hi. Appreciate it.
Oh, man, that was like an emotional journey you just took me on. I really felt that passion. I'm really proud of you. Thank you for sharing that. Did you need to take a little break? How are you feeling?
Oh, I'm good.
Do you need to take like a stretch break?
Oh, no, I'm good.
You're good? Okay. We'll go into healing, identity, and resilience. So many men, especially in Indigenous and royal communities, struggle with opening up about pain and mental health. What message would you share with men who feel like they have to carry it alone?
That's a deep question. And I think for every individual person, it can be different. But Like I said, there's a stipulation out there where we're supposed to be tough and strong and not show our emotions and cry. But if you carry too much, it becomes stressful. Like it's proven in science, it's proven in psychology, where if you carry too much stress, it's hard on your body. Like I've seen the physiological effects of carrying too much stress myself, where I have high blood pressure problems or had because I'm carrying too much at times. And it's okay to cry. It's okay to have your emotions. It's okay to not be okay. Because I think we're always dealing with something. It's grief and loss, it's relationships, it's losing a job or whatever the case may be, but you need to find what works for you. I know what works for me. I don't know what works for other men. Like for some guys, they say go to ceremony, and when I go to ceremony, I'm already connected with my creator. So that's just another form of connecting on a deeper level. Even a sweat, like with blood pressure, it bothers me, so I get dizzy and I get migraines when I do a sweat. So sweats don't work for me. Sweating does. So when I exercise, I sweat. When I go to the gym, I sweat. When I play hockey, I sweat. And for me, my physical exercise works for me. Also finding your person you can trust, because our people, we're full of sometimes like backstabbers. We're full of sometimes people that we can't trust, and people that are going to hurt us or harm us in some way, shape, or form by the information that we give. Like if I tell you something, I would respect that you wouldn't tell somebody else. You know what I mean? And if you tell somebody in confidence or in privacy, like what you're going through, that they'll just respect that. But sometimes it doesn't work out that way. To give you an example, I told a cousin about me being homeless recently, and I didn't need to tell him. I just confided in him, told him about some stuff that was going on between me and my mother, some of the issues that we had. And he threw that back in my face. He threw that back in my face to the point where I felt this big. You trust people sometimes with your words, with your emotions, and with your heart, with your mind, with your soul. And sometimes they'll throw it right back into your face. So finding somebody that you can trust wholeheartedly, that may not be in your circle, even whether it's a therapist, whether it's Dr. Phil, somebody. There's certain things I can't tell my wife that's going on in my mind that's going to affect our relationship, that may break our trust, but I have to be able to tell somebody. I have to be able to confide in somebody. So that's the thing, is I would tell guys, find out what works for you and continue to do that. Because if you don't, it's going to eat you up inside. It's going to break you. And quite frankly, I'm tired of losing brothers. I am, to suicide, to drugs and alcohol. That, imagine, instead of drinking, you just needed to talk. Imagine that. Who would have thought? Would you listen to that person? Like the buddy I just lost last week, I grew up with him. I knew he was going through a lot, but I didn't give him an opportunity to speak, and he went back to drinking, and unfortunately, he lost his life to an overdose. Imagine if he just needed to talk. Imagine that. So men, open up. It's okay. It's totally okay to not be okay, and to talk things out, talk your feelings out. So that's the message I think I would give.
Yeah, that makes me think of my son. So my son, he just turned 21 this year, and um since his 17th birthday, he's been drinking. And when he moved to Edmonton after he turned 18, he was able to find a job and, get his own place and have a vehicle. It really looked like he had stability in his life. However, there was always that alcohol piece. And I've tried to talk to him, get him to open up, but when it comes to like sharing emotions, even sharing what's going on in his head, he shuts down. I really hope he listens to this podcast, and if he can't have conversations with me, then hopefully he can find somebody that he can open up to, and like you said, just have a talk, right? Instead of resorting to substances or alcohol. Thank you for sharing that. How do you take care of your own mental health and emotional health today, and what practices, people, or places help keep you grounded?
Mental health is a big thing. I haven't been this far in my life or my career, but the things that keep me grounded would be my guitar, my dogs. I love my puppies, taking my dogs for a walk, finding a spot where you can just reconnect with nature. Because in this concrete jungle, this Western world we live in, we sometimes forget that a simple walk does a lot. It does a lot for your mind. It does a lot for your physical well-being. It de-stresses. So for me, it's a walk. It's just a walk in the park, or go to the mall, go see people. Being around people helps. The right people, exercise as well, and finding out what your spirituality is. And I say spirituality, not religion, because we're all spirits living in this human body, this form that we've been given for the short amount of time, this experience that we're on. If you're feeling stressed, just do something that you know is going to help better you, whether it's, something physical, exercise, emotional, talking to somebody, spiritual, talking to creator. Those are the things that you can do to help navigate your feelings and what you're going through on any given day. Like I don't smudge every day. I should start doing that some more because I know my spiritual's lacking a little bit. And it's like that. It's like it's like a balance wheel. We all knew that growing up, the medicine wheel, what we call it. If you're not balanced, then it's like a car. When I'm going down the road and I look at my vehicle, look at my Jeep, and if my tires are all at, you know, 32, 32, 32, and one's at 28, start to wobble a little bit. And pretty soon it's off balance. It's the same thing with a vehicle. You have to keep yourself balanced physically, emotionally, spiritually. All that has to you have to find balance. That's all I'm gonna say. And how you do that is totally entirely up to you. I know what works for me. You have to find out what works for you.
Is there any particular song of yours that feels like your healing anthem, one that captures your journey most deeply?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say that it's time. It was a tough song to write because an elder gave me some tobacco and a gift to write a song about. I went to the Saskatoon Regional Psychiatric Center and I found that the people that were in there all have pain. They all have pain on various levels, and they have the most pain. When I hear some of the stories about what our people went through, it's horrifying to hear some of the shit that they had to go through as a human being. I wouldn't wish that upon anybody. So while I'm trying to write a song, an anthem for our people or for healing, I'd say, my song, it's time, because right now we're going through such a transition of, like you said, it's going to take 7 generations for our people to heal. But we're going through such a rough time right now that it's time for us to heal. And that song was, I showed it to my Uncle Bernie, and he showed it to his buddy, Willie Littlechild. And Willie Littlechild did a presentation for the United Nations, and he showed them that song, and they used it as a symbol of hope for our people. Because there's always light at the end of the tunnel. There's always something to look forward to, whether you think it's a really dark time in your life right now. That anthem right now, I'm grateful I had that experience for going to the Saskatoon Regional Psychiatric Center, because I got to reach those people too. I got to find out some of their stories. I'm not going to share any of those stories with them, but they would rattle you. They stick with me, basically. So I have to take that and then write something about it. So how do I take something that's so dark and so grim in our history, the impacts of colonization, what the church did to us, what the government did to us? They literally tried to freaking get rid of us and wipe us off the planet and say we didn't exist. So my existence is my resistance, and your existence is your resistance. Like it's so big that you have to listen to this song and you'll get it. It's going to wake you up. It'll inspire you to do something. There's a message in there for everybody. And I think by me being the artist that I am, having to take those stories and put them into this song, it's that ripple effect. We already had a negative ripple effect. Let's drop another pebble in the pond and see what happens. But we'll do a positive one. I think that's the anthem right there is my song. It's time. I got other songs too, but I mean, that one, or, The Addict, is a good one. Up on Stage is a success song. If you lost somebody, there's a song called One Less Face. So there's something in there. Like I said, there's a song for everybody. And I think the biggest one I have is It's Time. And it's such an underrated song. I mean, it could be way bigger than what it is if people use it in film, in education. Bring it to Blue Quills. Show it to some of the kids that you're educating. Because I did my best to educate myself, and I did my best to educate the world and newcomers to Canada, and using those calls to action. And I'm using my gift of writing songs and music and business to reach a broader audience that, no, we're not savages. No, we're not as bad as people we're not the villains. We weren't killing each other for thousands of years, blah, blah, blah. That narrative needs to get changed, and it's BS. We've been such loving, caring, welcoming people that this is the thanks we get. No wonder why we're angry. No wonder why we want our land back, our language back, because it's been taken from us. How can you take everything from a group of people and expect them to be grateful? I beg to differ. That's why education, I think, is the most important. Educating yourself, educating others.
And knowing your limits, knowing what pisses you off, knowing what gets you mad, knowing what gets you emotional. Yeah, I'd say that song, It's Time, it's got a big message in there if you just listen. Don't take the 10 or 30 seconds, go through the whole song. There's a message in there for you. That one, It's Time.
That's cool. Thank you, Jarrid, for sharing not only your music, but your heart, your truth, and your purpose with us today. What you've reminded us is that healing is possible, that our stories, even the painful ones, carry light if we have the courage to face them. Your song, It's Time, isn't just a song, it's a call for us to remember to rise and to begin that ripple of healing in our families, our communities, and within ourselves. As Jarrid said, our existence is our resistance. So may we keep existing, keep creating, keep educating, and keep loving in the face of everything that has tried to take that away. It's time to heal, time to listen, time to stand together. Thank you to our listeners and our viewers for joining us for this powerful conversation. Thank you again, Jarrid, for your honesty, your courage, and for showing us that healing isn't a straight line. It's a song, a skate, a sunrise after the storm. As we mark National Men's Health Awareness Month, may we remember that strength isn't about silence. It's about showing up for yourself and for others. If you're listening and carrying something heavy, please know you're not alone. And there is always a way forward. Thank you for joining us on Muskeg Tea with Chantel G. Until next time, keep your heart open, your tea warm, and your spirit lifted. Hi, hi.